is beyond the date that today's date is. So to say that Dr. Rigsby had the opportunity to get a subpoena to keep an issue and get the social worker records here is really a bit misleading. So we would renew our request for those social worker records because we need them to prepare to defend themselves today.
Thank you. I don't need any rebuttal at this time. I actually like to move forward if possible. Perfect. Thank you.
Well, then at this time, I'd like to try to take care of evidentiary issues if we can. I've provided Ms. Perkins with our exhibit list and a copy of all the exhibits, which are base numbers. And would ask that she has, take a couple letters first. They'll ask for my objection. First, there are a lot of these materials that contain confidential patient information on both patient A and their records that contain confidential patient information concerning Dr. Riggs. When we get those records are unredacted in the set that we're using today, so that the board can see all the details. However, before those records are made in a form to be released to the public, there are many redactions that have to be made. And ask that we be allowed to do that after the series is concluded, and we will get as part of the agreement as to redactions. And I would ask her if that's acceptable to her, she objects. Second, I would ask that if Ms. Perkins has any objections to our exhibits, other than confidentiality, she would make objections to our specific exhibits now, so we can get those really done.
Absolutely.
If I may.
Absolutely.
Hear me from here. I think that it would be easier rather than shift the burden to me, for him to identify each exhibit where he intends to offer any evidence. And at that time, I will assert any objections that I have, and I'll do the same.
And as is typically been the practice, I think we try to take care of these matters up front, so we do not have to unnecessarily lengthen the hearing by handling each separate exhibit as a formal process. If I offer this exhibit at this time, your objections. So again, I would request that objections be made beforehand, because you have Dr. Lippincott remotely. If we get this taken care of up front, we can have this whole all these documents made available for Dr. Lippincott to have access to. If not, we will have to produce these one at a time on the internet. And I think it would unnecessarily slow down this hearing to handle it at this time. I think the objections should be clear from the list. Now, I have a list of the documents. I can read them into the record and ask.
That would be great.
Okay. Exhibit A, summons, determination of need for temporary suspension, order of immediate temporary suspension without hearing, and affidavit. Those are base numbers 1 through 13. Exhibit 1 to those documents. These were all attachments. 8/18/1995 consent order, base numbers 14 through 18. 3/20/1997 order of this board, just base numbers 19 through 30. This September 17th, 1998 order, is base numbers 31 through 33. Exhibit 4 to Exhibit A is November 18th, 1990 order removing restrictions, base numbers 34 and 35. Exhibit 5 to Exhibit A is a November 25th, 2022 Dr. Hamilton report. It's misspelled on the exhibit. This is Hamilton, but it's Dr. Hamilton. And that report is based on 36 through 44.
Any objection to Exhibit A?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Ms. Morris is fine. Thank
All
you.
right, okay. With respect to his Exhibit A, what he's done is a that's called a composite exhibit. We don't object to the MSB, the documents 1 through 13, okay? But we do object to exhibits 1, 2, 3, and 4 that's attached to exhibit A, because our position is that that is not relevant, first of all. Exhibit 5 to is exhibit A. We object because it contains hearsay. He's gonna have to lay a proper foundation, and we don't believe that this report is reliable. So for purposes of the record, to make sure that we're clear, exhibits 1, 2, 3, 4 to his exhibit A, we object to relevancy because these records date back to 1990. We're in 2022. Object to relevance. Exhibit 5, we're saying that it's not reliable.
Exhibits 1, 2, 3, and 4 are public orders of this board. Past history of a licensee is relevant. We provide a case law to this board before on this issue, and if we need to, we can get copies and bring it out again. It is relevant. Also, those orders and the supporting documentation that were received by this board in connection with those 1995 to 1999 orders, not merely the disciplinary facts. There are also extensive evaluation and treatment records of Dr. Rigsby, which were reviewed by Dr. Hamilton in preparing his report. So those contain diagnoses, treatments, etc. The fact that they occurred in 1995 to 1999, that merely makes them historical. Dr. Hamilton's report makes clear why those records and documents are in fact extremely relevant to sexual misconduct at that time by Dr. Rigsby, a condition which is listed in those as being in remission. So Dr. Hamilton's report, of course, when he comes to testify, I'm sure she may have other objections. Dr. Hamilton's report is based on the materials that are actually listed in his report. It includes all those orders. It includes all the evaluations, all the treatment notes, all the reports to this board from numerous healthcare professionals who treated Dr. Rigsby and provided him therapy at that time. So they are definitely relevant.
Council, I've noted your objection for the record. It is overruled. Continue, Mr. Barnes, with exhibit B.
Okay. Exhibit
B1, excuse me.
yeah, it's kind of a complexity too. I apologize. We're trying to keep them in base number order.
Okay.
Exhibit B1 is a copy of the complaint that was made to this board by the social worker. It does not contain the attachment. There's another copy later in these records that contains it all. But that's a copy of the complaint that was made. There is an MSBML report of investigation number 1 dated November 18th, 2022, which is base numbers 48 to 49. Our rules state that investigative reports are not published unless they are introduced as an exhibit at a hearing. I would not have introduced this report itself, except for the fact that it was provided to Dr. Hamilton as part of the materials for his expert review, and therefore we felt in fairness that it must be disclosed and provided.
Any objection to B1?
Yes, it's hearsay. And just because an expert relies on something doesn't necessarily mean that it's automatically admitted into evidence.
The rules of procedure, including and evidence, do not apply strictly to board proceedings. Hearsay may be accepted, and especially corroborated hearsay. There is no restriction on that. Second, an expert, even under the rules of civil procedure, may consider matters that are hearsay in point of their opinions.
Objection is overruled. Continue.
Exhibit B2. These are the records from Dr. Rigsby's previous evaluations and treatment from 1995 to 1999, based on the finding of sexual misconduct by this board in 1995. Those records are base number MST 50 through 200. Those are records that I would refrain from going into in open session. There are a lot of details in those that just don't merit public disclosure. So I'd ask that those be handled in executive session.
Any objections?
Same objection.
Yeah.
It's not relevant in hearsay.
Noted. Overruled.
Exhibit B3. Again, these are the same orders that are in Exhibit A. I get different copies, and I'm assuming that the third will have the same objections. B3 includes the 1995 consent order. This copy is page numbers 201 to 205. The March 20th, 1997 order, page 206 to 217. September 17th, 1998 order, page numbers 218 to 220. November 18th, 1999 order, removing restrictions, page numbers 221 and 222.
Same objection is relevant.
Got it. Noted. Overruled.
I'm sorry.
Overruled.
Exhibit C is it's prescriptions and a certification of authenticity and a printout from a drugstore. These are prescriptions that appear to have been handwritten by Dr. Rigsby for patient A.
Objection relevant.
Uh,
I'd actually like a response on that.
Well, these were prescriptions in April of 2022 and July of 2022, and they confirmed that a therapeutic doctor-patient relationship between the patient and patient A continued during that time.
Overruled.
Exhibit D is page numbers 228 to 251. These are text messages which were provided to the board by patient A primarily between himself and Dr. Rigby. There's screen printouts, so there may be an odd message here or there that doesn't fit, that could be redacted, but they are text messages. If there's any objection.
Any objection to that?
Give me just a second.
Absolutely.
I can't see the face.
I think that they're tiny. I noticed this last night because I said, where are they? The first one is number 228, and then they run through like 250.
I would object based on the rule of completeness. Discovery request, I asked for all text messages between patient A and Dr. Rigby, and they didn't give them to me. But I understand that the officer probably with them, and I have some myself. So for purposes of the record, I just want to make that objection. Otherwise,
I'm gonna overrule the objection.
Exhibit E is the original complaint made to this board. It's page numbers 252 to 256. This copy of that complaint includes both printouts from the computer page, our complaint process. They're submitted on the internet now, and it includes a copy of the document that the social worker attached to the online complaint which includes the details.
Same objection as before with respect to the social.
Absolutely. I'm overrule that.
Exhibit F, page number 257, to page from the AMA Code of Medical Ethics 9.1.1 regarding romantic or sexual relationships with patients.
Any objection?
Yes, I object. First of all, it's not relevant, but there's nothing in this case that I'm reading this file that has anything to do with the romantic or sexual relationship between patient A and Dr. Risley. So we would object to relevancy and ask that it be not be allowed. And plus, this is legal authority. That's not a proper document to be offered in evidence.
It's an ethical standard, and this board, by law, makes findings of fact, conclusions of law, must determine whether that document and ethical standard applies to Dr. Reese's conduct. The complaint contains sexual allegations, therefore, this document is obviously potentially relevant.
I'm actually going to reserve the right to make a ruling on Exhibit F at this time. If we can move forward, and I'll give you a ruling at the end.
Yes, ma'am. Exhibit G is the Federation of State Medical Boards paper on physician sexual misconduct, base numbers 258 to 288. It also has the same potential relevance. I assume that counsel opposite will make the same objections, and if you would like to reserve your ruling on that as well. That's certainly fine.
Was that the same objection as
Yes.
Exhibit F? Got it. Okay.
I don't mean to put words in Carter's mouth. I'm just trying to move along.
That's okay.
I don't think so.
Okay, I won't help you. Exhibit H,
Excuse me, for clarification, you're reserving ruling on
F and G at this time.
I apologize, I have to move it down. I apologize. Exhibit H is a short statement by Investigation Supervisor Michael B. Smith. It was produced in response to the request for any document setting forth the content of oral statements by Dr. Reeves.
Actually, no objection.
Exhibit I is Dr. Scott Hamilton's CV, base numbers 290 to 307.
Any objection?
no.
Exhibit K, we have already addressed to some extent. Formally, it's base numbers 310 to 315. The summary of supporting documentation prepared by and produced to the board by Leopold, licensed clinical social worker and treating therapist for patient A.
Any objection?
Just a moment, I'm trying to find.
Okay.
I would object to again the relevancy. It's clearly hearsay. I don't know whether it's accurate or not. You would need a sponsoring witness with all of these dates, so I'm gonna have to object. I don't even know who prepared this document.
We will be,
That's just not relevant.
Okay.
we will be calling this poll. She will identify herself as the author of this document, and she will explain its relevancy and go over it.
Your objection is overruled.
Want clarification?
Yeah.
Now, mine, 0000308, which they had given me is exhibit J,
Yes,
chronological summary, this, I don't know how Ms. Pope will testify about Dr. Rigsby graduating from the Harry.
That is my mistake.
you were on
Here, I
exhibit
skipped
K,
an exhibit.
correct.
So that was exhibit K is what I was just discussing. Okay, so exhibit J, that's a chronological summary of a form that was typically provided to this board by the Investigations Department Complaint Council in the 1990s. This particular one is from 1999.
Any objection to the objection to exhibit J, the chronological summary?
Nothing that what I've already done.
Okay.
Here's that.
K now is Ms. Polk's statement,
Ms.
correct?
Polk's statement. And
Okay.
first of all, as far as hearsay is concerned, statements made to a healthcare professional for purposes of evaluation and treatment are an exception to the hearsay rule. Plus, Ms. Polk is here to testify. Second, counsel opposite has gone into great detail as to why they need more details from Ms. Polk's treatment of Dr. Rigsby in order to probably cross-examine him. This document provides that information. Again, Ms. Polk is going to testify. She will be here to answer any questions about that document and about her treatment of patient.
I will reject, if this document is gonna come into evidence, it needs to come in through the testimony of Ms. Pope, not prior to Ms. Pope even coming to appear before the board, and he's already said that he doesn't even know that she's going to appear or not. Just because somebody typed something on a sheet of paper doesn't make it true. So we would object, and it would be cumulative. If she's gonna testify, then we don't need that summary. What I needed was the records from Ms. Pope's office that the rules don't allow us sufficient time to get, that we do not have. So we would
Yep.
object.
Objection is noted. It is overruled. Continue, Mr. Barnes.
Exhibit L, page numbers 316 to 317, are recommendation letters in favor of Dr. Rigsby from COA.
Any objection?
They were received by the.
Okay.
Exhibit M, page number 318 to 393, for patient A's medical records from the hospitalization we've already discussed, where Dr. Rigsby was treated physician.
Any objection? I'm going to overrule the objections for exhibits F and G. And so those will be admitted as well. That was the AMA Code of Medical Ethics, Rule 9.1.1, and the FSMB Physician Sexual Misconduct for exhibit G. So we have noted those objections on the record, but they are also overruled. Are you finished with your exhibits?
I am. Council has.
Council, would you, do you have any exhibits you'd like to introduce at this time? Absolutely.
So we have about 5 minutes.
Yes, let's take a 5-minute break, please.
Dr. Lippincott, this is Jonathan. We're going to disconnect and then reconnect. We have an issue with the stream, but we're going to get you back on, so just stand by.
Okay.
I think he understood.
If you have an extra ballpoint.
You